Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to basically cut through the noise for you. Our mission is to take dense info articles, reports, you name it, and pull out the really important stuff, the actionable insights. Think of it like your shortcut to being genuinely informed. We try to find surprising facts, maybe add a little humor, keep you hooked. So today we're diving into an internal audit report. This one's from a company called ABC Oil and Gas Services, LLC. And we're looking specifically at how well they stick to the ISO 29001.29001.
Right. ISO 29001. And for anyone maybe not familiar, this isn't just, any quality standard. It's super specific, tailored for the oil and gas world, petroleum, petrochemicals, natural gas industries. It's all about quality, sure, but also safety, reliability. Incredibly high stakes in this sector.
Exactly. High stakes. And this internal audit we're looking at, that's basically the company checking up on itself, right? Measuring their own processes against these really tough benchmarks.
Precisely. It's a self-assessment.
Yeah. Now, you might be listening and thinking, okay, oil and gas audit. What's that got to do with me? Well, honestly, it's a fantastic case study. It shows how these complex organizations handle risk, how they try to guarantee quality, push for improvement, and those principles, they apply pretty much everywhere. Tech, healthcare, you name it.
Absolutely. The fundamentals of quality management, risk mitigation, they're universal.
Okay, so let's unpack this report. Let's see what we can learn about keeping these vital operations running safe and sound. So first up, let's get the basics down. The who, what, when, where of this audit.
Okay, so this was internal, done by Eng, Sarah Al-Mazrui, she was the lead auditor, and Mr. Zubair Hassan, an internal auditor. Happened over 3 days back in 2025, July 15th to the 17th.
And what were they actually looking at? What was the scope?
Pretty wide, actually. It covered the design, testing, and supply of oil field equipment for ABC Oil and Gas. They looked into several key departments: procurement, engineering, QA/QC, that's quality assurance, quality control operations, and also the warehouse.
Got it. So a broad look across the key functions. Yeah. And the goals. What were they trying to achieve with this audit?
Well, the main objectives were clear. First, verify they're actually complying with ISO 29001. Second, make sure their own internal procedures match up with the specific controls needed for this sector. They also wanted to evaluate things like product traceability, can they track where everything came from, and supplier control, defect prevention, basically the critical quality checkpoints, and of course the standard goal, find areas where they could improve.
Okay, makes sense. Setting the stage. Now, let's get into the really interesting part. Where did things maybe not quite measure up? The findings. Audits usually call these nonconformities, or NCs, basically problems that need fixing. And there was one standout, wasn't there? A major nonconformity, NC 0012025.
Yes, that's the big one. Found in the QA/QC department. It fell under clause 7.5.3, which is all about control of documented information. Think procedures, records, specs.
The critical paperwork, essentially.
Exactly. And what they found was, well, pretty alarming. 2 pressure testing gauges had calibration certificates that expired back in April 2025. Expired. But they were still being used, not just sitting on a shelf, but used in live testing.
Oof. Live testing with potentially inaccurate gauges. That sounds bad. This isn't just a filing error, is it? What are the real implications here?
Oh, it's absolutely not just paperwork. That's what's so critical to understand. The risk here is immediate. It's severe. Using uncalibrated gauges for testing vital oil field equipment, it fundamentally undermines the reliability and potentially the safety of that equipment. You don't know if it passed the test correctly.
Right, the better readings could be completely off.
Completely. It could mean faulty equipment gets approved and sent out into the field, and that could lead to operational failures, spills, safety incidents. It's a direct link. So yeah, this major NC, it points to a potential weakness in their system.
So what did they figure out was the root cause? Why did this happen?
Well, the report identified it pretty clearly. A lack of an automated notification system. Basically, no automatic reminder popped up in their calibration tracking system to say, hey, these gauges are due.
Ah, so relying on someone to manually check dates, and it got missed.
Seems like it. Which, in a busy place it happens, but the consequences here are just too high. The corrective actions were pretty direct, as you'd expect.
Like what?
First, replace the affected gauges immediately, get them out of service. Second, urgent calibration checks for any other equipment that might have been missed. And third, the systemic fix. Build automatic reminders right into their main planning software, their ERP system.
Okay, bake it into the daily workflow.
Exactly, make it hard to ignore. And they set a deadline for that, August 1st, 2025.
So a serious issue, but with a clear plan to fix it and prevent it from happening again. Now, that was the major one. Were there other, maybe less critical issues? Minor nonconformities?
Yes, there were a few minors flagged as well. One was in procurement. This fell under clause 8.4.2, controlling suppliers, external providers. They found that the reevaluation for 3 suppliers out of 12 considered critical was overdue.
Overdue by how much?
More than 6 months overdue. And these weren't trivial suppliers. We're talking welding consumables, chemical providers.
Stuff that directly impacts the product quality and safety again.
Absolutely critical inputs. And the root cause here sound familiar.
Let me guess. Lack of reminders. Staffing issues.
Bingo. Staff shortage was cited, and again, no effective reminder system in their procurement software. So they might be using suppliers based on outdated performance or compliance info.
Which carried its own risks, right?
Definitely. The fix, pretty similar. Immediate review of those suppliers and get automated reminders set up in their system.
Okay, what else? Any other minor NCs?
Yeah, a couple more. One in operations. They had filled out a nonconformity report, an NCR, which is good, means they identified an issue internally. But the crucial step, the root cause analysis, was missing from the form.
So they identified the symptom, but didn't dig down to why it happened.
Exactly, and that's vital. Without understanding the root cause, you're just putting a Band-Aid on it. The problem's likely to pop up again. It breaks that whole cycle of continuous improvement you're aiming for.
Right, you fix the what, but not the why.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the last minor one was in QHSE, Quality, Health, Safety, Environment Department. Their internal audit schedule for the second quarter, it just wasn't done as planned.
They missed their own internal checkup?
Yeah. Which is ironic, given we're discussing the findings of an audit. Skipping those internal audits means you lose that self-policing mechanism. It's how you're supposed to catch things like those uncalibrated gauges before they become a major issue found by someone else.
Okay, so some definite gaps there. But audits aren't just about finding fault, are they? They also look for ways to get better. OFIs.
Correct. Opportunities for improvement, or OFIs. These aren't nonconformities, but suggestions for making good processes even stronger. They found one in engineering, related to Clause 6.1 addressing risks and opportunities. The finding was that risk-based thinking wasn't being applied consistently during the design phase.
Meaning what exactly?
Well, they gave a specific example. A new design for an offshore skid that's like a structural base for equipment. And there was no documented risk assessment done for it during the design process.
So potentially designing something without formally thinking through everything that could go wrong with it.
Kind of, yeah. Or at least not documenting that thought process systematically. Their recommendation was straightforward. Integrate a formal risk assessment template early in the design review stages. Catch potential issues up front.
Proactive, not reactive. Makes sense. Any other OFIs?
One more mention, again in QHSE. They noted that tracking continual improvement efforts was mostly informal. Maybe discussed in meetings, but not logged systematically.
So improvements might be happening, but it's hard to track them over time.
Exactly. The suggestion was simple. Set up a dedicated log or maybe a dashboard to track these improvement initiatives. It just makes progress easier to see, helps identify trends, and ensures improvements actually stick.
All right, so we've seen the major issue, the minor ones, and the suggestions for getting better. But surely they were doing some things well, too.
Oh, absolutely. A good audit highlights strengths, too, and there were some significant positive observations. One big one was in the warehouse. Product traceability.
Tracking parts and materials. How are they doing there?
Exceptionally well, according to the report. Full barcode tracking for all stock items. They could trace everything back to its batch, its supplier origin.
That sounds really important in oil and gas. Why is that such a critical strength?
It's huge. If there's ever a problem, say a faulty batch of steel or a contaminated chemical, they need to know exactly which products it went into. Full traceability lets them do that instantly. They can recall products, stop things from being used. It contains the risk massively.
Okay, so that's a major plus point for them. Anything else on the positive side?
Yes. In operations, they noted high competency among the NDT personnel. That's non-destructive testing. These are the folks doing things like X-rays, ultrasonic tests on welds and materials to find flaws without damaging the item.
Crucial stuff for ensuring equipment integrity.
Absolutely vital. And the audit verified that these technicians had the right certifications, ASNT Level 2, and they were all current. Having skilled, certified people doing that testing is fundamental to safety and quality assurance.
Okay, so we've covered quite a spectrum here. Major calibration failure, some minor procedural gaps, areas to improve like risk assessment, but also real strengths in traceability and technician skill. Bringing it all together now, What's the overall picture of this audit paints of ABC Oil and Gas and their quality management system?
Well, stepping back, the audit suggests, a general conformance to ISO 2901. The basic framework seems to be there, which is good. It's a foundation. However, those nonconformities, particularly the major one with calibration, they really highlight some critical weak points. Primarily in controlling documented information, like those calibration records. Also in managing suppliers effectively and maintaining their own internal audit discipline. These seem to be the areas where the system, while maybe designed okay on paper, wasn't being executed robustly. Especially the preventative parts, like reminders.
But not all bad news.
Not at all. The strengths are significant, too. That product traceability in the warehouse, the skilled NDT teams, these are really solid points. They show good operational practice in key areas. So it's a mixed picture, but they have a solid base to build on and clear areas to focus their improvement efforts.
So this deep dive into just one internal audit report, it really gives you a fascinating window, doesn't it, into the complexities of managing quality in such a critical industry. It shows that even if you're generally doing okay, conforming overall, specific failures in really crucial spots like equipment calibration or checking your suppliers can introduce huge risks.
Yeah, it really underscores that quality management isn't a one-time thing. It requires constant vigilance. It's not just about having the standards written down somewhere.
Right. It's about rigorously using them, maintaining them day in, day out. And often, like we saw here, that means having robust systems, automated reminders, formal processes to back up the human element, to fight against simple errors or oversight.
That battle against human error and just, things falling through the cracks, it's ongoing in any complex system.
Definitely. Which brings us to a final thought for you listening. This audit found that something as simple as automated reminders was needed to prevent potentially critical failures. Serious stuff. So it kind of raises a question, maybe for your own work or even your life. Where are you relying on informal processes, or maybe just memory, manual reminders for things that are actually really critical? What's the equivalent of that live testing with uncalibrated gauges in your world? Could a simple systemic fix prevent a serious problem down the line? It's just a reminder, really, that sometimes the simplest solutions, the systemic ones, can be the most powerful protection against major issues. Something to think about.